This is Randy Nunez, your host on Between the Chalk Lines every week. But today we have a special trade deadline review, kind of some teams who had sold and bought yesterday, July 30th. And I just wanted to let all of the trades get through and make sure that all of the kinks were fixed. So we're going to go through some sellers and we're going to go through some buyers and we're going to go through some teams that just kind of sat pat and didn't do too much. So let's start off with the sellers. The Marlins were probably the biggest of all the sellers. I know that the White Sox were thought to be big sellers this year at the 2024 deadline. They had Luis Robert in the outfield, center fielder, all-star. A lot of people were interested in him. And then their ace, Garrett Crochet, kind of popped up with some things, and we'll talk about that later. First off, Marlins, I'm going to just go through all the trades that they had. Last week, they started off early by sending A.J. Puck. I may have mentioned this last week podcast, but I'll say it again. They kind of kicked off the party a little bit early and sent A.J. Puck to the Arizona Diamondbacks in return for two prospects. Nothing of major mention there as far as the prospects. And then, obviously, the biggest and one of the later trades was Jazz Chisholm Jr. going to the New York Yankees. And if you didn't know, I'll let you know now, he wore the number 2 back in Miami. And if you know anything about baseball and the Yankees, number 2 is their most recent Hall of Famers number, which was retired almost 10 years ago, about 7 or 8 years ago in 2017. They retired Rookie of the Year, I think, All-Star, Gold Glove guy, World Series winner, Derek Jeter. His number was number 2, and they retired that. So they said, sorry, Jazz, we love you. We really want you. But we can't give you the number 2. So he has changed over to number 13. And in just 4 games, he was traded on the 28th. So a little bit early, again, before the trade deadline. Marlins, I think, wanted to make sure that they got all their trade bait out of the way. In 4 games that Jazz has played for the Yankees, 3 of those he's played at third base. One of them center field, and he's already hit 4 home runs and driven in 8 RBIs. That's as of today's recording, July 31st, which I will get you those player predictions on the website. So check out betweenthechalklines.com to read the article that will be posted tomorrow on August 1st, Thursday. The return for Jazz was the following. Yankees sent several prospects, but nothing of huge note there, unfortunately. I mean, Jazz, I think, as just one person kind of trade, didn't bring in a ton. And then they actually traded with a lot of teams here. Next, the Yankees' rivals, currently, I would say, not the Red Sox. I think that's kind of old school, just, Red Sox versus Yankees, because the whole Babe Ruth thing. But the Orioles, currently, who have a lead over the Yankees, they got Trevor Rogers, a lefty starting pitcher for top prospects Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers, who are of note. because Connor Norby is a second baseman slash outfielder, I believe. That's what he's posted as. And Norby normally takes second base whenever someone goes down, and then you need a filler. And then Stowers is also a top prospect. So for a left-handed pitcher, and we'll go over this again, they traded those two top prospects for the lefty. There was also a couple other lefties on the market. One of them who did get traded, one who didn't, and we'll talk about that. They also sent relief pitcher JT Tregois to the Mariners for minor league pitcher Will Schomburg. They also traded closer Tanner Scott and relief pitcher Brian Hoeing to the Padres, who they traded with before, for pitchers Robbie Snelling and Adam Mazur, as well as infielders Graham Pauley and Jay Bashirs. They sent outfielder Brian De La Cruz to the Pirates for pitcher Jin Suk Shim and infielder Garrett Forster. And they traded Josh Bell, who they put on waivers, to the Diamondbacks for cash, because Christian Walker, their normal first baseman, the Diamondbacks' normal first baseman, was injured, so it was more or less a kind of just replacement. They need backup at first base there for a playoff push. Marlins, I told you last week, I'm telling you again this week, they said early on, we're going to be sellers. And boy, did they sell. We're going to go to a interesting ending here with the White Sox and go into the buyers section. They sent shortstop Paul DeJong to the Royals for a minor league pitching prospect Gerald Rosado. Hope it's that right. Yeah, Gerald Rosado. And they traded Eloy Jimenez kind of just to get some money off the books. Not really a sought-out outfielder, but got rid of him to the Orioles for a 26-year-old minor league pitcher, Trey McGill. And the Phillies also required left-handed relief pitcher Tanner Banks for 19-year-old infield prospect William Bergoya. As far as the big trade, this will go on to the buyers section, like I mentioned. The White Sox, the Dodgers, and the Cardinals were all a part of this 8-player, potentially 10-player, depending on what happens in the future, trade, 3-team trade. So I'll just break it down now here in the sellers spot, and I'll go over it again later when we talk about the buyers, because there were several buyers. As far as who the White Sox received on their end, got infielder slash outfielder Miguel Vargas from the Dodgers, as well as minor league infielder Alexander Albertus and minor league infielder Geral Perez, and a player to be named later or cash. So the player to be named later deal could push this to a 10-player deal in the future. Going to the Dodgers end, they got relief pitcher Michael Kopech from the White Sox. That was their, goal, was to get Kopech. And they got infielder slash outfielder Tommy Edman from the Cardinals, as well as right-handed pitcher Oliver Gonzalez from the Cardinals. And finally, the Cardinals received right-handed pitchers Eric Fedde, outfielder Tommy Pham from the White Sox, cash or a player to be named later from the Dodgers, and cash from the White Sox. So, White Sox were huge sellers at the deadline, especially. Pulling off a three-team trade is hard to do in off-season and hard enough to do with just hours counting down on trade deadline day. Buyers. Obviously, the Dodgers are a part of this. Dodgers finishing their day yesterday. They acquired right-handed pitcher, starting pitcher, Jack Flaherty from the Tigers for catcher slash first baseman Thyron Lorenzo, and shortstop Trey Sweeney. The rest of these were their earlier trades. Flaherty was the last one. The Dodgers, going into the playoffs, have a possible rotation of Kershaw, Yamamoto, Glasnow, and now Flaherty, who can be a lethal for rotation, four-man rotation. And I think they probably would have been the only team. I said this last week again. I'm saying it again this week. Garrett Crochet would have been the only team. Dodgers would have been the only team to get Crochet because Crochet was asking for an extension and wanted to pitch in the playoffs. So Dodgers were the only team, and it sounds like the only thing that they got to work out was moving Michael Kopech to the bullpen for the Dodgers. The rest of the trades for the Dodgers, they got Kevin Kiermaier on the trade deadline from Jays in return for left-handed pitcher Ryan Yarbrough. Ryan Yarbrough is actually a teammate of Kevin Kiermaier, but now they're swapping positions and swapping uniforms. Utility player Ahmed Rosario for the second time in a row. They got him last year from the Guardians. This year, they got him from the Rays. Give up Michael Flynn, a minor league pitcher. So it was a straight 1-to-1 deal there. Obviously, the three-team trade where they got Kopech from the White Sox, and they got Edman from the Cardinals, and Gonzalez from the Cardinals as well. So they got a few things there in that big trade. The day before the deadline, they got right-hand pitcher Ricky Vanasco. They sent Ricky Vanasco to the Tigers for cash. So they were already talking to the Tigers. I'm sure when they sent Vanasco to the Tigers, maybe Flaherty got picked up in the discussion. And we got a few more sellers. Buyers. We got a lot of buyers this year. The Astros. I know the Astros fans out there are not happy. Acquired left-handed pitcher Caleb Ferguson from the Yankees for minor league pitcher Kelly Austin and international signing bonus pool money. They traded away basically their future in first baseman / outfielder Joey Loperfido, rookie right-handed pitcher like Jake Bloss, and minor league infielder Willie Wagner, who's the son of Billy Wagner, a famous Astros closer and probably a Hall of Fame pitcher. For left-handed starter Yusei Kikuchi, a 2-month rental. So 3 big future pieces for 1 2-month rental. And we'll get back, we're going to circle back to this because I wanted to mention something. The Mariners were also big buyers. The last person I got was JT Jaguar from the Marlins, as I mentioned earlier. They got Justin Turner, corner infielder from the Blue Jays, as well as cash for minor league outfield prospect R.J. Schreck. A few days before the deadline, the Mariners acquired right-hand pitcher and relief pitcher Yimi Garcia from the Jays also. So they already had talks about, some players. Garcia was the first one to go, and then Turner. So the Jays got Jonathan Clase, and he's an outfielder, and minor league catcher Jacob Sharp. The Jays have not had the greatest luck, if you know their history in the last few years, with catchers. So Jacob Sharp can help them in that department. And even before the Garcia, even before the Turner trades, all that, they got one of the bigger names, All-Star, Rookie of the Year, LCS MVP, Randy Arozarena, outfielder from the Rays on the 25th, so almost a week ago, for outfield prospect in Aiden Smith and pitching prospect in Brody Hopkins. They will have control over Randy Arozarena through 2026 season. So this season, next season, and the season after that. So they did have to kind of cough up quite a bit for him. The Orioles got relief pitcher Gregory Soto to cap off their day yesterday from the Phillies in exchange for pitching prospects Seth Johnson and Moises Cheste. They also got, as I mentioned before, Eloy Jimenez, Trevor Rogers, big names that will help them in the last 2 months. And on July 26th, they traded for starter Zach Eflin of the Rays, sending 3 prospects in Matthew Etzel, right-hand pitcher. He was an outfielder. Right-hand pitcher Larry Jackson Baumeister, and utility player Mac Horvath. All this movement, as far as the Orioles roster goes, allowed them to bring up Jackson Holliday. And earlier today, he actually hit a grand slam for his first home run in the major leagues. So everyone who was saying that Jackson Holliday is a bust, Jackson Holliday can't hit major league pitching, maybe the front office knew what they were doing when they kept him down in the minors at the beginning of the season. They said he was having trouble hitting left-handed pitching. I think journalists, fans, everyone alike, national TV, talking heads were saying that the Orioles were just trying to squeeze out that extra year of control over Jackson, which is a possibility. You can't say it wasn't a possibility. But he just kind of proved everyone right in the front office when he came up early on in the season and struggled to hit. He couldn't even hit a 100 average. I don't think he had any extra base hits. But he spent a couple months down in the minors, AAA, came back up, and he just, smashed Grand Salami for the Orioles there and helped them win. So I think the big takeaways here are for Dodgers basically willing to give up some young pieces to help them out. And they're looking to win no matter what it takes. They got, pitching help. They got for starting rotation and the bullpen. They also got some player to be named later or cash to consider giving. Mariners, other division, same situation. Very, very close race with Astros, who gave up the farm, as I mentioned, to get some pitching. The Astros went out there and got themselves, bullpen help and, again, rotation help. What they are missing is a first baseman who they gave away in Joey Lopefito, who can play outfield as well. Some underwhelming teams. Angels, everyone was saying Taylor Ward, Luis Rengifo, Tyler Anderson. All these guys are going to go. All these guys are going to go. They're going to get a haul for them. None of those three left. It was Carlos Estevez and Luis Garcia at the last minute who got traded. Estevez did bring back a couple of good pitching prospects from the Phillies, but the Phillies do need the help in the bullpen, so it's a win-win right now. As far as Garcia, they got 4 players back from the Red Sox, and the Red Sox are fighting still, so they want that 7th or 8th inning guy. They got it in Garcia. And then people were talking about Kikuchi and Anderson, kind of looking at them both. If you look at their xFIP or their FIP, which is basically their fielding independent ERA, Kikuchi is doing a lot better and can throw harder than Anderson. Anderson was an all-star this year, but doesn't throw all that hard, and his FIP is a little bit high, so some executives in this very, very analytic-driven world may be saying that, hey, he might be getting a little bit lucky. So, Angels fans, don't fret. We still have Rengifo for at least a year or two, and then we still have Ward through 2026. If Arte is willing to actually put some money out in the off season and get someone decent in the rotation, and then we already have Ben Joyce, ready and going to fill in that closer position. We have other players that can fill in that 7th or 8th inning spot. Matt Moore isn't doing his job really lately, so we're probably going to cut ties with him at the end of the season. I know that everyone would love to hear about a new third baseman, but Rendon will be the Angels' future third baseman for the time being. And obviously, the big news for the Angels fans is that Mike Trout had a setback. What that setback was, the GM wouldn't say. When he was asked about if the owner had any input or told him not to do any certain trades, he said that he had full autonomy as far as trade decisions. So maybe he just felt that the returns on Ward, Rengifo, Anderson weren't worth it. So, you gotta trust the guy, I guess. You don't really have a say in it or any choice. I know as an Angel fan myself, not the happiest, but also the guys we got back from Philly could be major leaguers in a year or two. Look at Ohapi, who we got from Philly. He's been fantastic. I think he could be an all-star next year or the year after. He's been a great guy in the clubhouse, and we're drafting pretty okay, I think, Christian Moore. If we don't, call him up in August, we'll see him Major League Camp in spring 2025. And possibly he'll be fighting for that second base spot that will open up when Brandon Drury leaves at the end of this season. So you'll have first round picks at first base, second base, shortstop, catcher possibly with Theis, who had a great game the other day. As far as other teams that really didn't sell a ton or buy a ton, Pirates had a few moves. Padres had a few moves. Pirates are obviously not looking to contend this year. The Nationals didn't have a ton of moves. And I would say that the Yankees didn't really get what they wanted. They would have been buyers if they had the right deals on the table, but those deals just didn't go through. Besides that one relief pitcher that they traded away, Caleb, that was really it on trade deadline. And this is Randy Nunez reminding you about BreakerToolbox.com. We just had a break the other day that was $1. Half a case of 2021 Topps Chrome, $1 team that Parlay J and Breaker Toolbox gave away. They just commented on the Facebook page, and they drew 30 names. And if you were in the 30 names, then you paid for your team by Sunday, this past Sunday. It was $1. All cards, 4 boxes, 1 team. You got them all. No joking around. I mean, Breaker Toolbox is great for collectors, great for breakers if they're looking for a new platform, or if you want to continue doing your stuff on Facebook, YouTube. You can just put all your inventory on Breaker Toolbox, free for 2 weeks, and then cheap little subscription model there. And if you're a collector, they have several breakers that are on the platform now already. You can find a breaker just about every day of the week doing some kind of sport, some kind of product, and good prices, free shipping, I think, for the most part. At least all my breaks are free shipping, so I've never had to worry about that. I know they're getting more of the new Topps Chrome because everyone wants that good stuff, the Topps Chrome Jumbos, Topps Chrome Hobbies. If you want personals, go ahead and do a personal. But that's all I'm going to say about Breaker Toolbox for you today. Randy Nunez from Between the Chalk Lines. You're doing your trade deadline review, the sellers, the buyers, and as far as the percentages go for winning the World Series, I think you could honestly say that the Dodgers have bumped up their chances pretty much, a lot higher. I know that the Astros, Orioles, Yankees all needed some help, and the Padres as well, Diamondbacks, and they all did something. So, there's that. At least your team did something. So, congratulations there. Heading out. See you on the regularly scheduled Saturday episode. So, I'll catch you then. Goodbye.